Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDL 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so we got a trade. I'm gonna turn certified lover boy off for just a minute. Turn it right back on when I'm done making this video. There's Drake is in there going crazy. But yeah, there's a trade, man. I peeked my head up from the musical scene for a second and saw that the NBA did something. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what exactly the Grizzlies got going on just yet. It's not that it's weird to me. I just haven't literally set it down. So I'm going to do the real time figuring it out while I'm here with you guys. But Boston, I'm pretty sure what Boston's doing. They're picking up Juancho, Hernan Gomez in their situation as the Grizzlies are picking up second round pick swap from 2026, Chris Dunn and Carson Edwards. So that's what the Grizzlies got going on. Now the Boston side is easy to understand. They're freeing up point guard positioning. That's what they're doing. They have overload of guards that they didn't expect to have, being that Schroeder was just simply dropped on them more or less for pennies on the dollar. And they had some really interesting guys at that point guard position that probably need more of a role. Chris Dunn is a guy who's a defensive side of the ball kind of person at the point guard position. Hasn't had much of an opportunity to really show what he can do in this league. However, was drafted very high many moons ago. I'd say about 6 years ago. And had some injury issues here and there. Just hasn't had a chance to show what he can do. Doesn't really shoot the ball. Isn't really a setup guy particularly. So it's kind of hard for a guy like that to find a role in the league when he has injury issues. And that's exactly what happened to him early on. He was a guy who was initially supposed to go to Boston. I think he's from that area. And he was passed up. I think it was, who picked him up? Was it the Bulls that drafted him? I don't really remember. But near his end of his rookie season, if I'm not mistaken, he had gotten hurt. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's like that injury was pretty bad. He was trying to come back from it. No, Minnesota is what it was. It was Minnesota who had drafted him. Ill-advised draft pick for them because they already had point guards, stuff like that. It was a weird stuff going on with them, and he just didn't develop properly. That's the moral of the story with Chris Dunn. So, but he's still a young guy. I mean, he's not old by any stretch of the imagination. I'm pretty sure he's in shape. He's ready to go, and he just needs to find a place to play basketball this season. So, in this situation, he's going to be landing with the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies are so very homegrown oriented in terms of how they develop their players and who they play. So I don't know that he doesn't get waived in this situation, to be completely honest with you. I think this is probably there's a chance. I mean, I just don't know. You know, it's one of those situations with the Grizzlies. You know, a lot of people were saying the Grizzlies, you know, they're picking up all these players. And, you know, they're getting Rondo, they're getting Beverly, they're getting Bledsoe. And I keep telling each and every person that talks to me about the Grizzlies when they acquire these players that none of them are going to play for them. None of them are ever going to put on a Grizzlies uniform. We always sit back and say with all three of those guys, wow, they're going to have a role with the Grizzlies. No. They had me fooled with Bledsoe because I thought they would actually use him. But Rondo and Beverly, no. And Dunn, unfortunately, same thing. He's probably getting waived. But I do think he'll find himself on a basketball team at some point very soon because it looks like he's circling around. He's on rosters right now. People are getting a look at him. He's been traded, so that means he has value. So I think he's ready to go. He just has to find a place to play. I have my doubts that it'll be the Grizzlies. I have great doubts. Now, Carson Edwards, on the other hand, could be the same thing, but I would tell the Grizzlies to chill out. I would tell them to chill out because this is a guy who's been stuck on the back of the Boston bench, but he has big streak ability. I'm talking string together 8 threes. I'm talking continue to hit every single shot all game long type of stuff. Go look up some highlights on Carson Edwards. The problem with Carson Edwards is the Boston Celtics. he didn't have a role there. That was literally the problem. Because when I see him play, every time I've watched him play, and I've seen him play several times, albeit against lesser talent because he's usually playing in the summer league or preseason or something like that when I see him. But he always is a star. Like, he's not just a guy, he's a star. So he reminds me of the same energy surrounding Alex Caruso when he was in the G League. That's what Carson Edwards reminds me of. Not as a player, but just the energy surrounding him. Every time I see him, he's balling. Crazy. And that's how it was with AC back in the day. That's why he got on my radar early on, because I used to watch him, watch highlights from him. I used to get with him. We had some guy who looked like he was super old, but was a young player who had super bounce, and at times he would just completely go crazy. So I watched one of the G League games he was playing, and it happened to be a game of his life. So I knew exactly who AC was, and I'm not surprised to see where he is in terms of getting a contract with Chicago way later, an NBA champion after all this. I'm telling you, Carson Edwards, same potential in terms of this guy is in no man's land right now. But if you put this guy on the floor with some real players and let him loose, he's going to show you why he should be in the NBA, and he's going to show you why you should pay him $60 million. He's one of those. So I know the Grizzlies, like I said, they've been waving guards left and right. People you think should play should get some run, aren't getting run. But Carson Edwards is not that kind of guy. The thing that all those players had in common, well, they were older. The thing that Dunn has along with those guys is the injury issues. Carson Edwards don't have those issues. He's a young player who can light it up. Nothing normal. I'm trying to tell you, this dude has real serious heavy load scoring ability. I've seen it already. I've seen it with my own eyes. This ain't no joke. So if the Memphis Grizzlies are targeting him in this trade, I would not be surprised, because he's exactly the type of player that they can bring in off the bench from behind John Morant, and he could turn your score from a close game to a 10-point lead by himself. So I'm just letting you know. I don't know what his strengths and weaknesses is. I don't think he's a defensive player. He's not particularly athletic. You know, if you look at his body, he's not one of those guys that's going to be doing all kinds of super stuff. But you put him in a position for catch and shoot situations. You give him the ball at the top of the key. Particularly, I'll say it like this. I'm not sure necessarily, if my memory serves me correct, I'm not sure if it was necessarily him creating for himself. I don't remember. But I do know he lets him off. So if you have a point guard that can create for him, put him at the 2 spot in some of them second units, he going to let him fly. I know he's a score guy. I'm just not sure what his dribbling's like. I still have to do more racking my brain on what I saw. But what I do remember was somebody who literally didn't miss. Like, he just didn't miss from behind the arc, particularly behind the arc. He's a 3-point shooter. So, yeah, that's what I think of this guy. And as far as the second round pick swap from 2026, well, anytime you hear the words pick swap, that means the value of the pick is higher than your average. That's what that means. If nothing else, it means that it's a valuable pick. So if it's a second round pick, it's probably closer to an end of the first round pick with that pick swap being involved as a part of it. So that's what it's about, man. Now, as far as Juancho, Hernan Gomez, I don't think Boston really has a role for him right now, to be honest with you. I think it was more so about just clearing up space with their guards. They just kind of got rid of 2-point guards to try to give Schroeder more of a role, make sure that Smart has more of a role so they can get their main minutes without having guys behind them that are just so high usage. Peyton Pritchard is somebody they're going to have to play as well with the intention of maybe making him their starter someday. So they needed to clear up guards. They needed to. And this trade enabled them to do that. And that's what I see there. I will tell you this, though. It's going to sound kind of strange. Maybe I'm jumping out the window, but I think they're going to wish they kept Carson Edwards over a guy like Dennis Schroeder. He costs less. I'm not saying he has as high as upside as Dennis Schroeder, because I don't believe that. But Dennis Schroeder's going to bounce. He's going to leave. He signed his 1-year deal, and he's looking for another big deal somewhere else. If Carson Edwards turns into somebody in Memphis or wherever he ends up landing, and Boston remembers that they had him on a little to nothing contract and didn't develop him, didn't invest in him like they should have, that's one of those situations going to come back and haunt them. I honestly God think that them letting go of Carson Edwards, this is something that we're going to say maybe 5 years down the road that maybe they should have did. They probably should have invested in him. They should have looked at him differently. And I see that all over the league. There are guys in this league who are just not valued properly because of other things that possibly distract their front offices and scouts and everybody away from them and their upside. There are guys out there who could do it, man. They just aren't getting the opportunities, or they're just not in the right roles or what have you. And I looked at Carson Edwards. I looked at Chris Dunn. Those are 2 guys who, if they go into the right situation, I think the coach can get the most out of them, particularly Edwards, especially with him being able to shoot like he does. I think Boston just, they did the right thing in terms of what they're trying to do for this season, but I just think that they are a bit short-sighted for the type of assets that they hold, and I've been saying that all season, off-season long. They're investing in who they have, but as much as I like all the players that they have, they are not good enough to win a championship. So they have to be signing these players with the intention of trading them over the next 2 years. All these guys, Marcus Smart, Richardson, uh, Horford. These are guys who they have on roster who are good to a cohesive bunch. But unless Jason Tatum turns into your MVP, unless Jaylen Brown is having another All-Star season, Boston's just okay, bro. They're just okay, and the upside of the players that they are investing in are just good. There's nothing great going on there outside of those two superstars, in my opinion, who have potential to be superstars, but don't have enough around them going forward to make them special in the presence of teams around them that are special. So it's like I just don't love what Boston's doing. I think it's safe, but I think it's like they believe in something that ain't good enough. That's how I look at what Boston has. It's like I put together this squad and it's good enough, and I'm sitting here with my pack of players, and I'm like, no, you're not. Like I trust and believe in your conviction, but what I see is y'all ain't good enough. And giving multi-year deals to all of these players only benefits you if you're able to move them together for something big later on. If they can put them all together and get Karl Anthony Towns, put them all together and get Dame Lillard, pull them all together and get Bradley Beal. That's the only thing that's gonna make me excited about Boston, because right now, that's all it is for me. I mean, their contracts are good. It's not like they're bad contracts. You just better have the intention to flip them for something good, something great rather. So that's my intention in talking about the Boston Celtics, and it's gonna be until I see them do that, because they have too many assets. They got picks. They got players, and then they got these two young 25-year-old super duper athletes in Tatum and Brown, and it's just like they ain't giving them enough. They're not giving them enough to win a championship. They're getting them enough to get to the second round, and if the boys play great enough, they can get them to the Eastern Conference Finals. But once they run into the Nets, once they run into whoever they're going to face in that Eastern Conference, I believe it's curtains if they were to get that far. The Bucks, they're out of here. They're not good enough to beat those teams. So that's all there is to it, man. Hopefully they I'm a Laker fan. What you want me to do? Hopefully they lose. That's what I got, honest to God. But as a fan of the NBA, it's good when Boston's good. It's good when they're going up against the Lakers and fighting for a championship. So I'd hope that they could overachieve so that we could battle it out for the 18th championship. That would be the right way to go, right? But I just feel like they ain't meeting us at the ball. Just like the Clippers, in a different kind of way, though. The Clippers didn't make through the playoffs to get there to meet us in the finals, in the Western Conference Finals. I feel like we have a chance to pass them up, and they ain't trying to meet us at the ball. They're doing little stuff that'll help them over the next several years be a good, consistent team in the playoffs, which is honestly piss poor in comparison to what they should be aiming for, wearing that green on their chest. Red Auerbach wouldn't be settling for none of this stuff that they got going on. No disrespect to the players that I like. I like their players. But this ain't Boston level greatness. Not when the Lakers about to pass you up. This ain't not up to par. So that's my opinion. And this trade doesn't hurt or help that, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with the trade for them. I think it's a good thing that they're freeing up space for what it is they're trying to accomplish. And Schroeder should have a career year. Maybe the sixth man of the year for Dennis Schroeder. You know what I mean? He's going to be a big piece to what they do. He's going to be looked at to provide a great deal of the scoring for that team outside of those two stars. So if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are happy, that should be good enough. But between me and all of y'all, they ain't good enough. It is what it is. DDL44, thank y'all for watching. I'm out.